Hello and welcome back to Xpwaste, where I can now hold 4 runes at once. I'm Michael.
And I am Oxie. If you're new around here, what's going on, new friend? We're a podcast that talks almost entirely about old school RuneScape. I'd say we're a good 96.2% old school RuneScape, probably 2.8% anything else, and then I don't know what percentage is remaining. 1%. 1% really bad at math. 1% just handsome. So welcome. You're in the right place for new old school RuneScape content. If you're not new around here, I already know people are gonna be flaming me if I get that math wrong, which I'm almost 100% certain I did. And that's basic arithmetic, so I don't even have any excuses. But TOA came out this week and it's been fun as hell. So welcome back. We're gonna talk a lot about it. Michael, how have you been this week?
I've been pretty good. Pretty good. Sent a fair few raids, just like I know that you have. We're going to talk a lot about raids, so I'm going to try and avoid that in my weekly recap because I've done a little bit extra. I got 94 agility, cranking it out. So I'm keeping track just for my own curiosity. And I got to 93 on August 20th. And then I got to 94 on August 27th. That's 1 week. And that was also with me doing 8 hours of raids on day 1. So I could have got it way sooner, but I'm just cranking it out. And right now I'm nearly, and you're just 800k till 95. So I'll probably get maybe a little over 100k XP while we record, which is great. But I found a new rhythm, I guess, because I was talking to my dad a week and a half ago, and he was just asking had I seen any new shows lately. I was like, no, not really. He's like, The Orville is now on Disney Plus. I was like, oh, I remember that show. I used to watch it on Hulu. I fell off watching it, or I finished the seasons. I don't remember, but I started it over again, and that's been my nightly routine. Whenever my wife is off doing whatever she wants, I'll just go in, watch The Orville, click at agility, and I don't know, I can bust out 2 to 3 hours and not really notice that I just did 3 hours of agility. So I think that's how I was able to do it in a week. So it's been fantastic. And I say it all the time, but you have the itch, scratch it. I don't really have the desire to do any other skill at this point. So I might just get 98 agility, stop there, and then get the other ones up to 98. But it's just every day I look at that, I look at my skills tab and I think, can I be satisfied stopping at 98 and then spending weeks, months, whatever, doing other skills and not having that satisfaction of just being done? I don't know. I really don't know. I might not do the whole 98s and then get a 99 at the end. I'm going to leave it open. I'm going to get to 98 agility and see how I feel. And then from there, decide if I can hold out till 98 or 98 hunter, 98 thieving, and then a 98 slayer. But most likely, if I don't hold out, 99 slayer will be my last one. Yeah, it's been a good week. How about you?
There are 2 elephants in the room this week. Normally there's only one whenever I give a weekly update, but this week I suppose there are 2. So to get the first one out of the way, once again, still no cape. I only sent 1 attempt this week, and you're going to be shocked to find out why. I made it to wave 24 and died and was like, well, this is stupid. I'm going back to the tomb. I had all escape stuff, so I had T-bows, all right, Vams, just because he was he was going to be at work and not feeling well. So he loaned me his stuff for a couple of days. And I'm like, what if I just sent a sneaky T-bow Inferno? I don't even think I used the T-bow before I planked. And I'm like, yep, not worth it. So I'm like, I'm not having fun doing this, and I'm having a blast with TOA. So the other elephant in the room is that I've been doing a literal shitload of TOA. And just like Michael said, we're going to save it because that's probably what we're going to talk about in the main title content. But yes, lots of Tombs of Amascut. In other news this past week, but at TOA. I mean, they're not fun, but again, we'll get into it. So in time, I'm sure it's gonna happen by the end of the year. Again, I'm not. That's a dangerous statement from last year. I understand that, but I'm compared to where I was this time last year. I'm
Yeah.
pretty certain it's just I just need the run at this point.
Yeah.
And I know it's getting serious again because last night I had a really bad Inferno nightmare, like really bad. Like I was at Zuck and the sets were spawning, but there was no Ranger after Jad. The Ranger just wasn't spawning.
Yeah.
So I was able to fully pray and it was awesome, but the shield was moving like 4 tiles a tick. It was moving like faster than players could run. So I was like tanking Zuck hits trying to keep up with the shield. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Why is it? I'm like, why is this what's happening post Jad? This is bullshit. And I didn't get the cape in the Inferno Nightmare. And I woke up and I'm like, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, okay, that was not real. Thank fuck. So yeah, it's coming back. I mean, literally, I just need the run, but otherwise, it has been an eventfully uneventful week because I have done one piece of content from Wednesday at about 6 o'clock in the morning until about Sunday at 8:33 p.m. where I say this to you now. So,
oh man, it's good content though, and we'll get into it. I had a question. Do you remember this time last year what your PB at Inferno was?
No idea. Probably around 40 or something.
Okay. I mean, you're making moves.
I think this is probably the time last year where I got there's an elite combat achievement to kill a major within the Inferno.
Oh,
so
okay.
This is probably around the time I started and like did that, you know, but otherwise, I mean, you know, we're chugging along, so I don't know. I imagine it's a lot closer to like September, October, which it almost is it going to be September when this episode releases? It might be. I'm not sure. It really might be. I think it will be.
Yeah, I think we'll be in. Nope, the 31st.
Yeah.
No, it's September 1st. September 1st. Sorry.
Yeah, so first day of September. I think now is about the time where we were really starting to be like, all right, what's a gear setup look like? You know, let's seriously send these runs.
So I'm guessing. Oh, okay. So you're saying you hadn't really even been sending
I may have
serious attempts. Maybe
I may have gone in for the memes and I may have gotten lucky, but I don't think I was like actually trying to just absorb it all.
To do it. Yeah. Well, I mean, PB at Zuck is hella progress, and it's only a matter of time.
I haven't made any progress since, but it is a matter of time. But we gotta get back in the pit, as they say. So
get out of the tomb, get back in the pit. Sounds like a good time, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, other than like recapping our week, I guess we can get into TOA.
Literally, there's nothing else to talk about. I'm not kidding when I say I've done.
Yeah.
I think I've done maybe 1 farm run a day. Maybe.
That's still good though.
That's about it.
Yeah. I would like to do more TOA, but I'm having to stop myself and say like maxing is my goal, raids is not my goal. Raids is very fun. It's probably the most fun I've had in a raid probably ever, because Chambers is not like, hey, we just ran one. You want to run one back again? It's not that for me. Sometimes it is if the mood is right and maybe I've had a beer or something, but like it's not. So TOA has been fun. I got my thread of Elidness and I'm out of there. Peace. Time to max. It will still be there next year when I'm maxed. So I'll have plenty of time to figure it out. Because then like actual metas will be developed. I know that a lot of metas have been talked about and people are pretty confident with what's good and how to do it. But does anybody really know like what rooms to go in first? Does anybody really know like the exact meta? Not really. People have a great idea because thousands, hundreds, millions of completions at this point. It's a weird way to put it, but there's a lot of completions at this point. At the time of recording, we even have a couple on, not us in the clan, but there are people who have done expert mode solos, which is cool.
I would argue there's one person in the clan who has done expert mode solos at this point. I haven't talked to him today, but I would argue that Jesse has completed at least one expert mode solo by now.
It's pretty cool.
That's literally the only one in the clan,
insane.
I think, who would be running like that.
So I'll let you have the floor because I think this is more your alley at this point. I
Well,
have thoughts about TOA, but
I would argue in most cases it is my alley. If we're talking about rating, if we're talking about PVM, and if we're talking about particularly high level PVM, I would argue yes, it is my alley. But I would actually argue that this is both of our alleys because while on the high end, I've been running, I think I've capped out at like 220 solo. So on the high end, it's a lot of fun. On the high end in a group, I think on average when TMD and I duo together, we do like 180, 190, 200 duos, and we just run that back over and over and over again. And it's a lot of fun. I like being there while the metas are being developed. I kind of like the guess and check phase, you know?
Mhm.
I like being in the space where like I'm getting DMs both like on Discord and on Twitter of people being like, "Yo, DDS is the strat. Like, let's just give it a try and see how DDS with adrenaline goes. You know, let's leave the Karis behind." Or like when I got my Jewel of the Corruptor, which is the red one, the special attack gives enemies 25% increased damage taken. So, but it slows my attack speed. So we're going in like trios and four mans. And I was like, how about this? How about this? When the core drops, I'll hit it with the Karis spec and you guys absolutely clobber it with claws and just see what kind of damage we can do. And we're going for 1 downs and 2 downs. Like, I
wow.
really like that like end game experimental phase. Granted, I'm not taking a shadow in to know, but I can see places where the Shadow of Temekin or the Temekin Shadow, whatever it's called, is gonna eviscerate enemies. Akka, oh my god. The final boss, oh my god. The Sang Staff is like, the Sang Staff feels like an Iban's Blast in some of these rooms. The Sang Staff is just not it some places. But the
Yeah.
Shadow with the increased accuracy, I cannot wait to see just how hyper lethal that thing is. So on the high end, yes. But this is far and away, and I know you can agree with me, the most accessible piece of legitimate endgame PVM content we have ever seen enter Old School RuneScape. The
Yeah.
quest requirement, I mean, the final boss of Beneath Cursed Sands is interesting, but watch a couple guides and you'll be able to get through it. I wouldn't say that the final boss of Beneath Cursed Sands is more difficult than Vanstrom or Galvek or Seren or Gluff. So like there are harder quest bosses.
Yeah.
The requirements are pretty minimal for Beneath Cursed Sands. And the no invocation entry mode raids, literally, I think of the 470 plus people that are in our clan, the people who have been raiding, I want to say every single one of them have pulled off a completion in entry mode. Like this is the
I
most
soloed entry mode
yeah.
on like the second day, I think.
Yeah.
Granted, I had pretty decent gear, but even I think you can even solo an entry with like mid-tier gear.
We've been seeing people do it with Trident of the Swamp, Dragon Crossbow, RMs, Fighter Torsos, like solo like entry mode level raids. So like yeah, raiding is endgame quote unquote, but like not this raid. This is mid game up until like absolute max end game. Like this spans the entirety of PVM. More arguably, I mean, granted, it's only been out for like a week, but arguably right now, you know, I know I've got some rose-colored glasses on because I love it so much. This is the most diverse and accessible piece of content Old School has ever had, as far as who can get there, you know? And in addition to that, it's also the most sustainable because as you get better and as you get better gear, you can crank up the invocations, you can crank up the time, the path levels, you can crank up, you know, no food, no brews, things like that. You can make it more difficult for yourself. You know, when you going to Barrows with a Trident of the Seas and Black D-Hide is very different from going to Barrows with, you know, Ancestral and a Sang Staff and a Serp Helm, because it's the same content, but you're just doing it quicker. You know, the Tombs of Amascut has room to grow with you as a PVMer. And it is so exciting to like watch and be a part of here at its inception. You know, because for me, like I'm a good PVMer. I would not have been able to do Theater of Blood on release. If Theater of Blood came out today, I would not have been able to get a completion on the first day. 0%. Yeah. Chambers is a maybe, you know. But
Nobody knew what they were doing at
absolutely
Chambers.
not. Exactly.
Right.
Nobody had any idea of what a raid was like, you know?
And arguably, Chambers mechanics are not what they should be, but there's no room to change them. Like they've tweaked them to the absolute max, and that is about it. It would take a complete overhaul of Chambers, I think, for it to like be as good as TOA is now, with like an entry mode, a normal, a hard mode. I know you have challenge mode, but that's different. So it would take a lot, and I'm excited for what they've been able to accomplish with TOA as far as really taking feedback, looking at the last 2 raids, and thinking this is how raids should be in the future. Whether it's themed around the swamp, whether it's themed around a dragon, whatever, they could re-release Chambers, make it scale like this, and it probably would still be great content. But again, it's too far gone at this point. You just have to live with the Chambers mechanics how they are, because the fact that you can go in there as a hardcore Iron Man and just simply die and it mean nothing kind of is, looking back, not great. You know what I mean? It doesn't add that risk factor. It's kind of free content at that point. Theater of Blood, TOA, you die, it means something. So it's not a safe death. But yeah, I agree 100% with how much you can scale up this raid. Even at raid level 50, you still have a chance at making money. Like you're not totally out of the, it's not totally out of the realm of possibilities for you to get a drop. Unlike with Theater of Blood, there's no purple chance on an entry mode, unfortunately. The best you can get is probably Vials of Blood. But I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and unlike Theater of Blood entry mode, I've only run I think 9 entry modes. I kind of want to do one more just so I have the even 10. But as far as like TOB entry modes is extremely forgiving. Like you can take a melee from Verzik and consistently get hit like 10s and 15s. In regular Theater of Blood, those are like 40s, 50s, 60s. That's like a team killing mistake if you get hit at melee in a regular. So entry mode Tob, it literally feels like just like soft core RuneScape. Like it's intense, but it's not really like a picture of what could actually happen in a real raid. I don't love entry mode because having done Tob like prior to the release of entry mode, I think it is not great for learners. TOA entry mode is forgiving, but because of the way it scales, it's not like, you're not getting hit a 6 off prayer at the final boss. You're still getting hit at 15 or 20, just like you would in a normal raid. You're still getting hit, just some of the mechanics aren't present, but the mechanics are optional to begin with. So I think that's, for me, what makes entry mode so much better of like a PVM learning experience. I know we said last week, like we had the argument about go try out Theater of Blood, go try out entry mode, which by the way, side note, I'm not trying to gatekeep TOB from people. Really, I'm not. I don't like, the idea of being like, oh, only the highest of the high level can do this content, because I'm not the highest of the high level. On day 1 of release, I wouldn't have been able to find a team because I don't have an Infernal Cape. Right? Like I'm not trying to gatekeep TOB. I genuinely think that A, like entry mode is not a good way to learn, and B, learning Tob, like truly learning it, is a frustrating experience. Just like Zulrah, just like your first Fire Cape, learning TOB is frustrating because of the amount of failure. It's worth it, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. And if you're at the point where you're like, dude, I got base 90s, I'm gonna go send some Tobs, do it, but brace yourself because you're gonna die a lot and it's gonna be annoying as shit. But 100% recommend people do it. So I know I listened to the episode as I was editing. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to try to like, I'm not trying to big dick anyone out of Tob, but just like prepare yourself for like the inevitable failure, as we talked about.
Yeah.
But no, the way TOA scales is beautiful. It's the health, it's the damage, even like the amount of people you have in there. TOA is fantastic. Fantastic.
So do you want to talk about our hour 1 experiences?
Sure,
because we were there together. Yeah,
we were. We sent in a 7-man entry mode,
which is insane.
Yeah,
we completed it. and it felt really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, let's throw on some invocations. And
then it all went south. Wow, we got
So
egoed
bad.
like crazy. We got our first entry mode. We're like, let's go. You know, we're all pretty decent PVMers, all pretty decent raiders. We're like, dude, entry modes for babies. We easy. We can do a 150. It was the meanest wipe and wipe and wipe and wipe and wipe I have seen in a long time. Like, we got egoed learning normals.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite moment of doing normals. When we all went in for entry mode, we got to Zebek, the big crocodile. Everyone had T-bows and Bofas, and we ripped Zebek apart. It was like a minute, 20-second fight. Absolutely ripped him apart. And we knew the waves were coming. We knew the poison was on the floor from like the trailers that we had seen. We went in on normal, where he had a little bit more health from the invocations, and the invocations turned it up a little bit. And then suddenly, when he shot out the poison, he shot out these rocks. And we're like, I don't know what we do about these rocks. Let's wait for the waves. And then the shock wave came out. Xpwasters, it killed our entire team. All eight of us died immediately because we weren't at full HP because like whatever, we can tank this. He's not hitting through prayer. Killed the entire team. And we're like, what the just happened? What was that? Where did that wasn't in the last raid? Who turned that invocation on? Like, learning normals was a trip, but that first entry mode, oh my god, it was so much fun.
It was fun.
Oh yeah, it was a blast. I have a clip of our first like. So I was streaming. I streamed for like 9.5 hours that day. And our first entry mode completion, I have the clip of like when the warden finally like rears back and the final phase starts where everything's like all kicking off and there's lightning going on. And the whole chat, everyone in VC is like, what the fuck is this? Oh my God, Bruce, stay safe. Oh my God, run around. Then we finally get to completion. We see the KC in the chat box. And it's like, let's go. Oh, we beat entry mode. You know, that's a pretty cool clip I've got for the memory books there. But
that's cool.
Yeah, no, it's been a heck of a lot of fun. To learn.
Looking back at that experience, what I wish we had done, and this is just hindsight, instead of going 0 invocation straight to 150, I kind of wish we ramped it up and just got kind of like what you should do now is start at 0 and then maybe go to like 50 or 60 and then go to 90 or 100 and then 110, 130 and then you're starting to send like 150s, 160s. I kind of wish we did that because we literally for probably 3 hours tried to brute force a 150 and it was just so frustrating.
Yeah,
because at that point we're still learning the mechanics, which is totally fine. It's within the first couple hours, but I was able to ride the high of the first 0 invocation raid for a while, and then I'm just like, guys, I'm not having fun. I'm literally not. I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna go eat lunch, think about what I've done, and yeah, just looking back, wish we would have done it a little different, but I just had a blast. It was a blast.
We ended up doing that a little bit later in the day, where we were like, all right, we're pretty good at PVM, but like we're pretty bad at TOA, so we're gonna turn up the heat little by little. You know, we're gonna slowly make our way deeper into the pool instead of having to like just, you know, jump right into the deep end.
Yeah.
And it worked really well. I think by the end of the day, we were consistently running like in groups of like 4 or 5, we were running 90s. And then I think I got my first normal at the end of the night in a duo with Ralph at a 150. Ooh. And then I did my first 150 solo the next morning. So
gaming. So I mean, day 1 completion. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I did get it. I mean, technically, so it's weird because it wasn't day 1 for me because we finished it at like 12:02 p.m. or 12:02 a.m. But it was still day 1 for Ralph. So I count that as a day 1 completion because we're in a different time zone.
So you started it within the first day.
Yeah, within the first 24 hours, I got a normal KC completion. So that for me was pretty exciting as well. It was one of the goals I had was to like learn TOA day of release. And while I'm no AddyCon master of TOA, I definitely think I picked up on this a lot quicker than I was expecting to.
I was thinking this is going back to a way previous point. I'm just now remembering, but I was thinking back to that conversation we had about entry mode TOBs, and I was reflecting on how I felt on Wednesday having done a number of entry modes. I think I did like 5 or 6 KC entries.
I know we ran some together because if it like
Yeah.
we ran them like 7 and 8 mans, then we're like, all right, 8 man sucks for 150, so we're gonna like split the team in half and like see what happens there. And I think
4
it
and
was
4.
and then
So having the experience I had in just doing TOA in general, and I think you said this, like they took a lot of mechanics from TOB, shifted them a little bit, used them, whatever. There's a lot of mechanics from TOB in Tombs of Amascut. So it really wouldn't be that big of a deal to get comfortable in an entry mode. If you haven't done Beneath Cursed Sands or whatever, you're not ready for that quest, just send a couple entry mode TOBs if you're kind of in the mid game and you don't have the gear stats to do regular Tob, because some of those mechanics will transfer over. Like you still have the Verzik walk, and that's going to help you in Kefri. I think that Nilos is very stressful, but like maybe doing a couple Nilos will help you in the Baba, the Baba challenge room with just figuring out, oh, I need to use range to kill this one. I need to use mage to kill this one. So I don't know. I was just thinking like maybe it would, but I get what you're saying. Entry mode when it comes to learning actual Theater of Blood is not helpful because there's blatant differences in mechanics. You can get lazy if you're like, oh, I've done 50 entry modes, and then you're going to Theater of Blood normal, and you just get absolutely spanked. Well, duh. It's different. It's
what do you mean
different.
The green ball hits more than 20 damage? What the fuck?
You can go into Sodaseg and just like not really do much in an entry mode and still complete it. Like I'm pretty sure you could probably just run across the maze in an entry mode and not really have to.
I have. I tested it out. You can.
So there's big differences between easy mode Tob, normal Tob. But I still stand by the fact that I think entry mode Tob would prepare you in some way to get into TOA with a little more confidence.
I still disagree, only because just send TOA. Zero Invocation TOA is a friggin' blast. You know?
It is. It's a lot of fun.
I hate to disagree with Michael. What is this, 2 weeks in a row about rating? But I mean, Zero Invocation, you can still get the thread and you can still get the jewels. I think technically reward wise, you can receive everything at every level, but if they're grayed out, it's like a ridiculously low chance. Like Onyx from a gem bag chance.
Right.
You know, like
1 in 10 million or something stupid.
Yeah.
I think somebody on Reddit day one got the pet from an entry mode, 1 KC. Insane. So it's possible, just very rare. I'm really interested to see what the drop rates are. If we find out in a week or two, whatever, Jagex releases drop rates. If we do find out that, scaling is just insane, like it's a 1 in 300,000 or something to get the pet at 0, but then maybe it's a 1 in 2,000 to get it at 150. That's a huge difference. That is a huge, or maybe like at that point it's a 1 in 300 to get it at 300 points. I'm like, my goodness. But I'll be very interested to see the scaling as far as what number. I don't know. Do you think they'll do it at like number intervals to change the drop rates? Because that's what I would expect.
So if you go to the TOA like board while you're making parties and things, you can go to the summary tab and you can see that like what the invocations you've applied and how the bosses are affected by them. So like what percent damage, defense, health that they are all increasing by. There's a couple cool stats, just sort of like breaking down the invocations. I would imagine the loot scales similarly, where the more invocations you have on, the more likely you are to see a drop. I mean, it's just statistics that like the more people that are in the raid, the more likely you are to see a drop as well. So solos probably aren't great for purples, especially since we don't know how the drop rate works mechanically. We're not sure what the exact like meta is. Like chambers, you're more likely to see one with a group of people. Theater of Blood solo is not grindable it is an achievement, but it is not something you grind out. But the rates are pretty proportionate to the difficulty of the content for both of those. So Chambers is not that hard and purples don't exist. And Theater of Blood is pretty decently difficult. And in theory, on a death list, you see one in every 9 KC. That's the drop rate at TOBs. 1 in every 9 deathless raids. Some days it is not like that at all. Some days Verzik is like, you know what? I'm going to do my best Ulm impression and give you nothing. And then some days you're getting rapiers and a vernix. So I would say it's just RNG. I would imagine it kind of scales with difficulty just like that, because TOA can sit anywhere from, you know, as easy as something like Gauntlet at a 0 invocation, which I understand the gravity of what I'm saying. The Gauntlet is not the easiest piece of PVM content in the game, but it requires a lot of focus and it requires learning mechanics that once you learn are rewarding to complete. You can complete them consistently and are not incredibly punishing should you make 1 or 2 mistakes. That's like entry mode TOA, right? Scaling as far up as what I imagine will be akin to like hard mode top, where it is absolutely brutal in there. I'm not entirely sure that a max invocation raid is possible yet, because there are
580 or something.
580. Yeah, there are 2 invocations. One of them doesn't allow for hard food to be used, so anglers, crombons, whatever. One of them doesn't allow healing potions to be used. So no Cerebrews, no nectar, no ambrosia, no potions will work in the raid at all. So you're pretty much going to be reliant on blood barrage, sangstaff heals, blowpipe heals, and
Blood Fury.
Yeah, and Blood Fury. That's about it, you know? So I don't know if a 580 is possible yet. Somebody will do it.
Somebody's got to do it.
It's not going to be me or Michael, but somebody's going to do it, you know?
It's going to take a long... I feel like it's going to take a long time before we see a 580.
Mm-hmm.
And by a long time, I mean like months, if not a year.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Like, this raid is hard even with food. Yeah, at 300 plus. And there's a lot of things that just damage you, even if you're praying correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So the mechanics, even with food, it's hard. And not to mention all of the invocations stacked on top of each other. That's just insane.
Yeah, that's like 35% reduced prayers, 1 life or a wipe, you know, a 25-minute run to achieve the invocation. Which I suppose we can kind of dip into the invocations, because I'm sure there are some listeners out there, like, we can fangirl over this and we can go back and forth about how accessible is the content and what it compares to all day long. But I think what's more important is people who have not done it, or people who have like only done 0 invocation entry modes. Let's give them a feel for like what they're going up against. So if you look at the invocation list, there's a couple that are pretty obvious. The softcore, hardcore run, they're right at the top of the list. They limit the amount of deaths you can have. We consistently go with softcore run because we have found that if we wipe more than once, we probably don't have the supplies to do it anyway. So we might as well just reset without paying money.
Right. Because it's 500k if you take in max gear.
Yeah, so it scales. So death, we didn't say this in the last episode because we didn't actually know it, but so the death coffer, unlike somewhere like Tob, where it's 100k to unlock it no matter what, the death coffer scales with the value, the GE value of whatever you're wearing, up to 500k. So it's a pretty good gold sink for the end game, and it's pretty punishing in the mid to low game, because if you're paying 200k and you only have a couple mil bank, I don't even want to say the mid game to late game, because the day 1 of TOA, I only had like a 300k cash stack because I had spent it all on supplies, and I had to get a loan because I couldn't get my stuff out of the chest. So shout out to Lord Jake for giving me some money to get my shit out of the shame chest. But yeah, so the invocations, the time ones are also pretty self-explanatory, except the mechanic of the time ones is a little strange. So let's say you have a 150 invocation raid and you stick the minimum time on it. And that minimum time, the 40-minute interval, right, bumps it up to a 160. If you complete the raid within 40 minutes, so not just the actual challenge, but the total time of the raid, So like when you're resupplying, walking between rooms before you enter rooms, if the total time of the raid is under 40 minutes, you get those 10 extra points and the raid becomes a 160 level invocation. If you don't get it in 40 minutes, the raid is reduced by 10 points. So it goes from a 160 to a 140 because the base would be a 150 without it. Because you didn't hit it, you get punished for it. We're not entirely sure if that's how it works specifically, but that's what we've noticed because TMD and I try to run the sub 35s and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and when it doesn't, it really affects the level of the raid. So just something to be cautious of right there. Again, that might be proven to be not true in the future. It might already be proven to be not true right now, and we're just not paying attention to our invocation level. Again, this is 6 days of play testing that we've done to give you this information, 5 days even. So it's not like we're, saying something about something that came out 6 years ago. So apologize if that's not true, but we're pretty sure that's how it works, where it can negatively impact you even more if you don't make time. That said, the 40-minute one, once you get comfortable, pretty free. Not going to lie. I say that with max stats and pretty max gear, so maybe don't quote me on that, but something good to strive for. A couple other ones that are also self-explanatory. On a diet, can't use food. The quiet and silent prayers, you can't, your overheads are not as effective, so 10% less effective and 25% less effective respectively, which can also stack to be 35% less effective. We've found that that's not great for solos because while it does increase the invocation level, it also just makes the raid harder because you're taking damage you can't pray against.
Right.
You know? So
one point, going back to the on a diet, that also includes the okay, if you die within the raid, they respawn you with these things called honey locusts. That you cannot eat those, and it also, weirdly enough, applies to silk bandages, which I didn't know that you were eating them. But it's weird. It's, I don't know. I feel like either A, they need to change the name of the bandage to something that is consumable, or let you use the silk bandage on that with that invocation, because it's just kind of weird that you're munching on a silk bandage. So just keep those two things in mind if you're going to be using that invocation, because it's 20 points, but the silk, the silk dressing helps a lot when you're trying to siphon at the P1 wardens. You can do it without it, but honey locust can come in clutch, and the silk dressing. So that's all I wanted to say on the diet one. But otherwise, it can be free points.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a main account with access to a lot of brews, I would say go with on a diet. Only because it's like I used to take in anglers before they fixed on a diet. And then it was like, oh no, now I can't take 44 healing. Let me just take 120 healing instead. Because brews heal a lot more than any hard food. With obviously the detriment of your stats. But the smelling salts, or the seasoning salts as we've been calling them, the overloads, so to speak, they boost your stats up and they consistently restore them, just like an overload in chambers, with the added benefit of not making you take any damage.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
So yeah, there's that. So brews aren't necessarily out of the question. Something you can just pack yak and bring in there. There are some invocations that make it so that the helpful spirit, which is a pretty neat way of giving supplies. The helpful spirit will give you less supplies. Helpful spirit is kind of like a hybrid between a Tob chest and a chambers prep, where it just gives you 3 different loadouts, all with various items: brews, restores, prayer enhances, the silk bandages Michael talked about, overloads, and then adrenaline, which is cracked because it halves your spec. So instead of 2 claws, you get 4, for example. And then ambrosias, which is the single greatest piece of food ever entered into OSRS. It overheals you, it restores all your stats, boosts your prayer up to full, and restores your run energy in 1 sip of a potion. Ambrosias are everything.
And you get 2 sips per potion.
And you get 2 sips. So we use it as get out of jail free in the final phase.
I just want to take a moment and thank the JMod or the JMod team who got that green lit and put it in the raid because it's OP as hell, but it is so nice. It is. I'm hoping that it get to the point where you don't have to use them and like taking the power section on the helpful spirit is not always necessary, but like it's freaking amazing.
Yeah,
it is saved runs for me almost every time. I sip at least one dose. So thank you, Jagex.
It's really good. One thing that they don't really describe too well, the path seeker ones.
Yeah, I was wondering about those.
So there's one invocation that completing a path during the raid will cause other paths to level up. And then there's Path Seeker, Pathfinder, Pathmaster, which levels up the paths, quote unquote, by 1, 2, and 3 respectively upon entering the raid. Now, what does leveling up a path mean? Now, I've not played around with this a whole lot to be able to tell you, but from what I've been able to see, places like Akka, for example, the memory puzzle where it shows the 4 lights and you have to walk to the lights, Akka will do 5 of those instead of 4. Whoa. The boulders at Baba will fall faster, and you'll have to be there. Not the poop boulders, the ones that fall from the sky will fall faster, and you'll have less time to get away from them. You know, so when the paths level up, elements of them get more difficult. Okay, which I'm excited to play around with and see like which ones are, you know, quote unquote free. For example, that are just easy points. If we say they're free, it's because we don't think that they're very difficult for us to complete. Although objectively, if you're doing it for the first time, I would not turn some of these on. Right. Then we get into like the individual demi-boss ones, which are fun.
Well, I do have a question. Have you looked into the walk the path? Because there's 3 specific path ones, but then there's walk the path. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that the one where like the first room you go in is not leveled up, but then the other rooms will be?
So from what I've gathered from listening to mainly Jesse talk about it, because he's the only one who I think has run with that invocation of the people that I've spoken to, there's like a chance for them all to level up. So you can, let's say you do Akka first, right? When you leave Akka, when you complete it, there's a guarantee that one of them will level up, but there's a chance they'll all level up.
Gotcha.
So sometimes you'll get unlucky and they'll all level up every time. So by your 4th room, it's a level 4 path or a level 3 path. But sometimes you'll get very lucky and then only one will level up. So like, let's say you leave Akka and then Kefri levels up to 1. But you're like, oh, well, I still have level 0 Baba and Zebek. I'm going to go do one of those because they're level 0 and they're going to be much easier for me to kill. Then you might get lucky again and Kefri levels up and Baba doesn't. So then you have a 2 or a level 3 Kefri by the time you go fight Kefri, but you don't have to deal with any of the other level ones. Again, we're 5 days into Tombs of Amascut, and I have not played with that invocation. This is what I have been told by people who have. Again, we may be incorrect, so I apologize if we're giving you false information. Really not trying to, right? But that is, that's that invocation. I don't really run with it on again.
How many points is it worth? Like, is it substantial?
It's worth 45.
Oh, okay.
So it boosts the shit out of some of these. I might send, maybe I'll send an entry mode, or maybe I'll send some 150 solos, but I'll turn this on and just like see what it does. You know, because it affects elements of the room that aren't like what's affected by the other invocations. You know, I'm interested to see if like I just don't know how it'll be affected. So I'll have to play with it and give it a shot.
There for sure will be like a wiki article that's like, these are what you get with level 0. These are what you get with level 1, and it'll detail it so that maybe you have a better educated walk. Maybe you're better educated walking into these rooms if they happen to level up. Maybe 5 months down the road, I don't know. But again, like Oxie said, we're 6 days out of the release, so it's not. It's actually less. It came out on the 24th. We're 4 days. We're on day 4 of this raid being in the game.
Yeah.
Oh, so 6 days once it comes out.
Well, no, so we're on the 5th day. So 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. We're 5 days in. 5 like full work days, so to speak, of TOA being released. By the time this episode comes out, it'll be just over a week
Okay.
of
Yeah. Right.
of TOA being released. So just like we said for last week's episode, there's probably going to be some stuff that we don't know about that will get released between now and Thursday when you're listening to this, or later. So we may be incorrect, but you know, what can you do? The Demi-boss invocations are a lot of fun because they really can like dramatically change how the boss fight goes. You know, do you have any that you? I guess what's your favorite of the 4 demi-bosses, Michael?
Oh, it's a great question. I don't mind Krondus because the challenge room is not terribly difficult. Like you spend a couple hours in Sepulcher and you've got a basic idea of how to navigate the spikes. And then Krondus itself you pray range and you figure out what prayer you need to pray against, and then occasionally you have to stand behind a rock, dodge a wave. So it's a lot of mental agility kind of for that room. I'm split. Krondus is great. It's not my favorite, but I like the Baba fight, but I heavily dislike the crazy monkey room in the beginning. Like it is my absolute least favorite of any of the challenge rooms. It's just so annoying because like it feels like it goes on forever. Just monkey wave after monkey wave, and then you have little poison monkeys that are walking around like they just don't care that they're spreading poison. They're like, yes, this is me. I'm just walking around casually. And then the volatile monkeys are really annoying because if you're not paying attention and they're like, hey, buddy, and then they explode. But challenge room aside, the Baba fight is very engaging. I like the mechanics in that where it's mainly melee, prey melee, but then you also have the poop rolling down. You have to where you have to get by rocks. So I would say that Baba is probably my favorite fight. Akka's a lot of fun. I think Akka can get annoying if you mess up. Like if you're not paying attention and you don't see what the first quadrant that's going to go off, you're screwed. Cuz then you start taking tick damage. And that sucks. But I haven't really like mentally Akka's not all there for me as far as looking at his prayer and knowing which one do I not see. Crap. So I'm mainly whenever I'm fighting Akka, I'm mainly going off of what attack he's doing, because to me that's a little bit easier. So like if he's doing his mage attack, you're most likely, or you are using range. If he's attacking you with melee, you're using mage, and so on and so forth. So that one's harder. The one I care about the least, definitely Scabrous. That boss can suck a dick. I hate that. It's so stupid. The puzzle on that one is my absolute favorite, though. I love the Scabrous puzzle. It's just chill. Like that's like a a night in Discord with the boys. Crack a beer. You're doing puzzles, man. Like that's just fun. So it's a lot of dualities for me. It's a lot of dualities. I'm sorry, you asked me what my favorite was, and I just went into this huge old rant.
Yeah. Explains all the rooms. Nice. I'd have to say my favorite is Akka, which, funny enough, I love the Akka fight, but holy shit, the Akka puzzle room. That first day, for any of you guys who are on Patreon, and you watched me do crabs with Michael at Chambers of Zarek, and you saw the pure, unadulterated rage that filled me trying to do that stupid puzzle. That was day one of Akka. I was fuming with these damn light beams. I don't like light puzzles. I'm not a fan of it. Solving puzzles has never been a strong suit of mine. So just doing it, oh my god, it was rough. But the beauty of it is there's only a specific number of solutions. There's only a specific number of puzzles that can be present in that room. So once we kind of nailed down where to put them, that room became a lot more tolerable.
Do you still hate it though? I feel like you still have a disdain.
I have a disdain
absolutely
for
free.
I have a disdain because I have been really struggling to get a 1 down.
Oh.
But when I say struggling to get a 1 down, I mean like that middle crystal will have like 4 hit points left, or like 2, like 1 shot guaranteed.
You know
All
what
I
you
need to do is just hit it a tick earlier, and I've got it. So like that has been a cause of like this monitor's going out the window, because like that is so annoying to almost get the 1 down.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, solving the puzzle, like I just know where to put things now. It feels like, and I think the Akka fight is great. The running joke for the last couple of days has been I need to go seek some help, because I think the final part of the Akka fight, where all the white balls are moving around the room and you have to like dodge them and attack Akka, that's the best part of the fight. I love that. It's so satisfying to not take any damage. I think it's so much fun. But that seems to be pretty universally hated by all my friends.
It's not, I wouldn't call it terrible. I think people just find it annoying that there's some times where it's just unavoidable. But literally, if you pray redemption and you semi pay attention, it's not bad, because he only has like 600 health, and that's pretty easy. Because you can get like 2 or 3 hits in. If you have a scythe, it's more like 2.
You cut through with a scythe. It's 1 swing and you're on to the next one immediately. Usually we open that up with a double claw and then just into scythes, and it's over pretty quick. But
yeah, do you have a least favorite?
Probably
Krondus.
It was Xebec for a really long time, because the trauma of that first normal mode and that shockwave has not left me yet, and I am not ever prepared mentally or physically for Xebec shockwave attack.
Yeah.
That said, because I don't like it, I have made it my life's work to be the only person responsible for making sure we get past that thing. Which I was so funny. We did a trio, me, TMD, and Michael. And Michael's like, if you hate it, why are you doing it? And TMD's like, that is the most Oxie shit I've ever heard. Like, he hates it, so he has to get really good at it. Because if you want it done right, you might as well just do it yourself. Like, I don't want to put a team wipe in the hands of anybody else in a duo or a trio. So like, just unless you're confident that you can push that boulder in the right spot, just let me do it and we'll be fine.
We did a duo and Oxie's like, Michael, do not touch that boulder.
Stay still. Do not touch the boulder.
Just
do not touch it.
DPS the boss.
Just DPS the boss and run behind the rock when I tell you. Like, we'll be fine. Exactly.
You kind of do that in the Akka puzzle too. For how much you hate that light puzzle, you're the one running around and getting all the lights. And
because if I do it, I know where they're going, right? Like, I can't predict other people. But recently the Kefri fight has been kind of inching into like, God, this sucks, because there are a lot of the most frustrating pieces of Kefri for me are the scarabs that spawn. The soldier, the arcane, and the spitter scarab. Oh my God, they're so irritating. Yeah, it's on a different level how annoying they are, because sometimes you can. I one claw spec'd the arcane out earlier.
Oh,
sometimes
nice.
You hit a 0 and the rapier won't hit, and you have to take. Earlier in duo last night, I took a 70 from the arcane attack.
Oh my gosh.
I got absolutely clobbered by it. Sometimes the meleeer just doesn't want to get hit. And the meleeer is not that weak to magic either, which doesn't make sense for the combat triangle, but okay. The Karis, I don't have the Jewel of the Scarab, but so far the Karis proves to be mid at best at Kefri, but I could be better if you have the blue jewel. And wow, those poop lines can really end a run quickly, can't they? They can go from like, wow, this is flawless, we DD'd, there's minimal blockage in the room, to like, oh, now I don't have a tile to melee the boss on. Awesome. And sometimes it's not in your control, because sometimes it will push you in the opposite direction you want to go. So at the moment, Kefri is sneaking into last place. While, like you said, the puzzle is phenomenal. I thought that was going to be the worst room in the entire raid. The matchy at the end, chef's kiss.
It's so fun.
Oh man,
it is
so much fun. Especially because like we're getting pretty good at doing it sub 90 second too. So we're having a we're having a blast pushing the sub 90 room. I think all the puzzle rooms are fine. Baba's is kind of annoying only because of how long it takes. But even then, I got like a 315 on a solo earlier, because it's more about killing the monkeys than it is actually doing anything in the room.
Right.
It's how quickly you can kill the waves that come out. And just like Nilo, the waves are always the same. So you can predict what's going to be on the field after you kill the first wave that's out there. So yeah, the diet Niloka's room in TOA is not too bad. Baba Fight's okay. You know, Mind the Gap is a fun invocation to turn on.
Oh, have you been running it with that?
Yeah, we've run a couple. I don't do it on my solos, but I've done group raids with them on. Mind the Gap is fun if you don't tell your team that Mind the Gap is turned on.
Oh no.
That's when Mind the Gap is the most enjoyable. It's when people step into the raid and they go, "Wait a minute, is the woo?" and everybody dies off the rip, and they're like, "Actually, you son of a bitch." That's when Mind the Gap is a good time.
It's a good troll.
Because you get quite the giggle out of it. But yeah, I would play around with the invocations. The final boss is a shitload of fun. But before we get to the final boss, I would play around with the invocations, see what you like, see what you don't like. Some people are going to have preferences for what they like to run with. Some people are going to have different preferences. For example, I don't like Mind the Gap because I think it adds an additional layer of stress. A lot of the people that I'm good friends with, who I've been raiding with, think Mind the Gap is perfectly fine. Just don't walk in the middle of the arena when it's at 66 and 33 HP. It's not that hard to get around. I don't like it, so I don't play with it turned on, you know?
Yeah.
So play around with invocations, figure out what you're comfortable with, figure out what you're like, wow, that's awful. Another one I don't play with, upset stomach. Yikers. I do not like the upset stomach invocation. It makes the poison in Xebec wider, and it makes this radius with which the balls explode less. So you have to be more accurate on the shockwave phase, which again carries just a little bit of trauma for me. So, you know, I don't love that one. But yeah, get in there, play around with invocations, go from 0 to 50, go from 50 to 100, go from 100 to 150. It's a shitload of fun to practice the rooms. And if there's ever a room that you're like, man, this sucks, unlike Chambers, where you can run in or you can't like run in and practice, unlike Tob, where like if you're shitty at Zarpus, you have to push through the rest of the raid to then still be bad at Zarpus.
Mm-hmm.
You can go into any of the paths in whatever order you want. So if you really need practice at Kefri, run Kefri back over and over and over and over again. You know, so
and try it with the different Demi-boss invocations, like Oxie was saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you just turn all 4 of them on and head in there, and then figure out you hate that, turn off the upset stomach one, and then see how it is.
Guess and check, and especially if you don't turn on hardcore, you can leave without any penalty. You can leave the raid without a penalty, and you can die without a penalty as long as the one death mechanic is not turned on.
Yeah, you can die as many times as you want. They scale it up from as many as you want to you can die 10 times, you can die 3 times, and then you die once, and then we always run with softcore. I see. Do you think we'll ever get to the point where we're at hardcore?
100%.
Because like we're deathless and it's just free points at that point.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get to that point, and that'll come when like we have, you know, if we're running group raids, like if we're running, you know, 3 or 4 mans, we'll probably have to have 1 or 2 carries.
Yeah.
In order to do that, just to like guarantee it, you know, because like if you die at the final boss, you can't respawn between phases. So you just have to finish it.
But if you think about it, Tob is always hardcore. It's always one attempt, and people do Tobs all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is yet another reason why Tob is teeth-pullingly frustrating to learn, especially if you're going with a group of learners. But that's neither here nor there. The final boss, Michael. What are your thoughts on the final boss? Because you've done a couple of Verzik, but I know you've done a lot of Olm. So where does the boss stack up for you
on the
compared
scale
to
of
the other final bosses? I mean, it doesn't even just have to be those 2. Like it can be any other boss in the game. What is the Warden's fight? Where does that rank for you?
I'll go with each phase. So there's 3 phases. Phase 1, I like that you can choose how to start it. If you're not aware, there's two bosses. Forgive me if I mess this up, but it's Alidness and Amascut.
Alidness and Temekin.
Oh, so close. Okay. So Alidness and Temekin. And depending on how much energy they get from the obelisk, depends on which one will wake up. And so you can choose to siphon all of the energy from the one that you don't want to fight, and they won't wake up. So I've been running a pretty good spread of both. And I don't know which one is which. The one with the swords, is that Temekin?
That's Temekin. Swords is Temekin. Hammer and shield is Olidness.
Olidness. Okay. I think I like Temekin more. It starts out with range, so if you have a pretty decent range weapon, you can get down in P2, but we won't go to P2 too much. The mechanics are interesting in P1. There's the siphon thing, which I mentioned the silk dressings earlier. The siphoning, it's basically just one tick. Every tick you take 3 damage. And if you have the silk dressings, then you're getting healed while you're getting hurt while you're siphoning. You only really have to siphon for maybe 10 seconds. It's not very long, but it can get you down to from 99 HP, it can get you down into the 60s, which is just more brews that you have to eat. And then it's just about the things that happen. So there's these lights, and then you have to DD for a mage attack, and then there's a range attack, and then you're pretty much into P2. So I don't know. I like P1. P1 is interesting. I think it's very easy to get through if you have the proper knowledge of don't let both of the bosses heal up, or because we did that, and
that was another mistake we made. That was another mistake we made in the normal modes.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was another entire team wipe, is because we had the yellow lights and the red lights all at once, and we're like, where do we walk? You can't go anywhere. You're just dead.
And then after that, we kind of figured out, because we're like, all right, whatever, we'll just go right back in. And we're like, oh, wait a minute. If you stand here and take damage, it doesn't, the other boss doesn't attack at the same time. Then once we figured out, oh shit, we have to get them in cycle, then it felt good. So
yeah. P2 for me is very frustrating. I dislike P2 because there's just a lot going on. There's stuff on the floor that you have to watch out for. There's not a lot of reaction time to prey against what they're attacking with. It's very noticeable. Like prey mage when you see a skull, prey range when you see a little rock. It's pretty easy. There's also swords that will pop out, and you have to pray accordingly for those. There's just a lot going on. There's things on the floor. And I've struggled the most with P2 because I'll be in full mage gear. I'll be across the freaking room because I can react a little bit better if I'm farther away. And then it goes down, and now I have to kill the core, and I'm running across the room trying to find this tiny little dot on the floor while also putting on my melee gear, trying to figure out if I'm brewed down or not. So there's just a lot going on.
Pro tip for P2: shift click tag all core. Because if you get that, mine's like a fluorescent blue when I tag an enemy. It's I don't miss it.
Nice.
You get that fluorescent blue square on the ground, you're not missing it ever again. Shift click tag all core. I promise you, it'll help you out.
Okay, I'll try that. That's probably gonna help a lot. The other thing that messes me up is you're missing max hits by the easiest things. I was running a duo, and for one of the downs, I forgot to put on my Avernic, and I was hitting a 38. And then I put on my Avernic, and I'm hitting a 46. So it's a difference of 8 max hits on the core if you don't have your Avernic on. And that's just one piece of gear. And then you pop on Piety, and now you're in the 50s. So it's there's just a lot to remember in P2. So it's probably my least favorite of the Warden's phases. But P3 is fun. P3 is chaotic, but it's predictable. And so going back to the first phase, depending on which of the 2 gods you let siphon, it's going to change who you see in P3. So when I actually got to P3 and I saw that the gods that you just killed came back as spectral ghosts to try and ruin your life one more time, I was like, dude, that is so cool. That is such a neat thing that they did in this raid. But you get a AoE attacker, and then you just get somebody who's going to either attack with range or mage. And It doesn't really change. So you could go with either god to let siphon, so Temekin or Elidnus. It doesn't really change. It just comes down to preference at that point in P3.
It does. It does change because the bosses are mechanically different. So when you, let's say you let Temekin spawn like you like, and then you get Akka and you get Kefri. Because that will the gods Michael is referring to is the 4 demi-bosses you fight. 2 of the 4 demi-bosses you fight will come in the final fight, depending on which Akka or depending on which Temekin or Elidnus you spawn first. If you spawn Temekin first, you will get Elidnus at the final bit of the fight. And Elidnus will bring Akka and Kefri to the fight. It does change the end mechanics because there is an invocation for Kefri called Aerial Assault, which turns the fire bombs from a 1 tile thing to a 3x3 tile thing.
Yeah.
That invocation carries into the final fight.
Oh.
So there's now a 3x3 area of effect you have to avoid.
Oh, okay.
Whereas with Baba, it doesn't do that.
That's pretty big.
The additional change on the other end of it, because there's 2 styles of attacks. There's one that hits you directly that you have to have overheads for, and there's an environmental one you have to avoid. So with Kefri, the environmental one changes. Akka attacks range, mage, every 3 attacks. So it'll be range, he'll stab the ground, mage, he'll stab the ground, range.
Okay.
Xebec is Jad. Xebec, you have to watch what he sends out, and then you have to react to the prayers accordingly. So Xebec, I think, is more enjoyable for a majority of the fight until the final phase, where it's just all kicking off and shit's going wild because you have to avoid the lightning and the falling rock, and then now suddenly Xebec, you're taking damage, you don't know why. It's because Xebec is attacking you with what you're not praying against. Xebec is hectic towards the end. So which one you take down does determine how the final boss fight goes.
Yeah. I didn't mean to say that they're completely the same. I meant on more of like a very high level. You have an
with
AoE,
no invocations,
and you have a
basically
prayer.
exactly the same.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I didn't know because I don't usually run with the 3x3. I didn't know that
we run it in duos, and that's why we don't do Temekin first.
Okay,
we do the mage one first because we cannot stand doing Kefri with the 3x3 at the final phase.
Oof. With Kefri being my least favorite of the demi bosses, I generally don't pump up that fight. I just want to get it over with. And so anytime I've been running invocations, I've just left it on where it's just the 1 fireball. And so damn.
Yeah, but it's it is a lot of fun. The one thing I am curious about for the Akka fight is that if you, or rather for Elidnus at the final phase with Akka attacking you, there's an invocation that makes Akka deal melee damage to everyone who's next to him when he does range and mage attacks. Curious if that carries over, which if it does, that. And then
if you're
also,
like on too far into the left, random melee attack you weren't expecting.
And I'm also interested to see how leveling up the paths affects the final boss. So Baba's rocks will fall at a certain speed. They'll go when she's not leveled up. Yeah. But when she's leveled up, they go a little bit quicker. So I'm curious to see if they're a little bit quicker in the final phase of the fight as well. And I imagine Kefri's bombs are no different. So there are a lot of pieces that will affect the final boss fight, which just goes back to how well designed this raid is and how well it can scale with your individual skill level or your team's skill level. I really enjoy the final boss fight. I think P2 and P3 could be switched. As far as boss fights with 3 phases. The only one I can think of off the top of my head at this very moment is Verzik, right? P1's pretty easy, but can kill you if you make a mistake, just like Obelisk. P2 is predictable, but punishing if you get it wrong, just like P3 with like shifting left and right. And then P2 is the or P3 for Verzik is, behold my true nature. And that's when it becomes just insanity. There's special attacks. She's on the ground. She's attacking you with all styles. That's more what P2 feels like.
Yeah.
Where there's environmental danger every couple of attacks. The Warden has an Ulm style attack where it will send out either a sword, an arrow, or an orb. just like it does in Chambers, where it turns your prayer off and will hit you for a shitload of damage if you don't turn your prayer on correctly. And then just like in Verzik, you can react when you see either the animation or the projectile coming out, which is not like Olm, which is nice because all my homies hate when Olm jads. But I think P2 is a little bit more akin to a final boss fight until the final warden gets enraged.
Yes.
That enrage phase with it, just like I said, when it's all kicking off, holy shit. That is the most fun I've had. That's probably top 3 boss fights for me right there. That final phase of P3. It is so much fun.
Yeah.
And the ambrosias make it so that P3 is not nearly as like stressful, right? When Verzik gets enraged, she attacks every 6 ticks, and the things will heal her, the tornadoes, and the special attack still happens, so it's like still have to watch out for that. And I think the enrage phase is a lot more fun for both of the fights, like when they're enraged, because now it actually feels like it's an intense fight. Now it feels like there's pressure to kill the boss. And I think they did a beautiful job of that with the wardens as well.
Yeah.
Because God, it is just so much fun. And because you know me, I play with music on. The music changes key when it does that, and it starts to get higher pitch, and it becomes more intense. Oh,
and the floor is going away. Oh my gosh, dude.
God! And the floor just like explodes behind you. Holy shit!
Have you ever gotten to the point where there was like one strip of floor?
Yup. The last row always remains. It's awful because you're a runner, you're a track star going back and forth trying to hit the final boss because you only got one row of tiles to get through. It's beautiful. This is Jagex. If you are listening, if there is any JMod who does enjoy this show genuinely, whether or not you worked on TOA, this has been the single best release of content you guys have done probably since Leagues 2, probably maybe top 5 period. And not only is the encounter incredibly fun, the encounter has like brought joy back to so many people. I was not having fun playing this game. If you are going for, or you have an Infernal Cape, you know that it is not a fun grind. Getting into Tombs of Amascut has made this game so much more fun. Where like I'm dreaming about Tombs of Amascut, not nightmares like the Inferno. I'm dreaming about TOA. Like it is so much fun. In addition to how good the content is itself, the release of content, absolutely flawless. I know we said last Tuesday that the community is a little gun shy after Leagues 3, and I think Jagex was a little gun shy too.
Yeah.
And they did not, it was spared no expense for this launch. We didn't have we had some minor bugs with the game's release, but that's going to happen with any new content. We didn't have a rollback. We didn't have a delay. We didn't have a game-breaking malfunction. Nothing had to be reset. The release was fantastic. The hype for the release was fantastic. The content that people were putting out for it, the videos, the live streams, the teams of all the big names getting together. You got Tasty, Bodie, Wooks, Addy, all on a team together running 8-mans. You know, later in the week you had Bodie running like solos in his like max gear at like a 250 Invocation 300. Like the content that people have created has been awesome. I follow some of the artists on Twitter, Jerv and Soften and all that. They've been releasing all of their like concepts and their GIF animations that they've been working on for the last several months that they couldn't show anyone until now. So my Twitter timeline is flooded with all this stuff from Tombs of Amascut that people have been working on. The animations are gorgeous. Watch Zebek move his neck. I didn't know they could like this is not the blocky like hands up, hands back, hands forward, mage attack that we have been used to for 20 years. This is a new level of graphical quality. The music is fantastic. Fun fact for all of you scrubs who don't play with in-game music on, the Akka boss fight, Sands of Time, is a reorchestration of the Al-Kharid theme that you've been listening to for 20 years. It's fantastic. Everything about this raid truly has been top tier. And while I do have some critiques, while I do have some things that I personally would change, it is nothing along the lines of the criticism I gave Raids 3, nothing along the lines of the criticism I gave the Wilderness rework. If you listen to the most recent episode of the Wilderness podcast, I listened to that today. Shout out to Dills for getting that out so quickly. I listened to that today. Wow, I am not very kind in that episode. But this has been, this is like their magnum opus of content so far. This has been the pinnacle of release quality.
Yeah.
Fantastic work, Jack. Truly fantastic work. Fantastic.
I agree. I 100% agree. I can't really put anything else above this as far as everything you just said, like release day quality, content quality, thought put into it. Like the team that Jagex has right now, they're doing good things. They're doing very good things. I cannot wait for what is in store because we still have a ton of stuff.
Oh my god.
The Gazette is full of things.
If they could do this, holy shit, what's next?
I know.
Like that's where I'm at right now, dude.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, Michael.
This is not the ceiling. This is the floor of what is possible with this game. Like, this is old school RuneScape, guys. I think some people, myself included, take that statement for granted. When it was the year, 2013, they're like, should we boot up the 2007 server? To nearly 10 years later, we have this. Insane. Like, this is top tier quality content. And it is fun. You guys know, not too huge into PVM. If I wasn't going for maxing right now, I probably would still be at Tombs of Amascut. But like, my other goals have to come first, unfortunately. So it is content I'm looking forward to going to whenever I get, a couple hours free and the boys in Discord want to send it, or once I max. So again, I just agree. Everything you said, Oxie. It's amazing. It's amazing content.
So amazing that there's no way to top that. And I think that's a good place to call it for a break.
I would agree.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Stick around. After the break, we'll have some more content for you. We'll see you after this.
Hi there. My name is Farmer Grycolor, and this here's a tithe farm. Now, this here's not your general type of farming that you see around other folks doing. My plants are special. Why? Because they grow real fast. Now, if you're asking me, it is pretty simple. Plant, water, and pick. Now, this isn't all just for fun, no. I've got a little shop that my granddaughter helped me set up. Okay, well, I do gotta be honest with you. I don't take gold pieces. My shop only accepts points that get awarded by yours truly. You get points each time you bring in a harvest, so I'll be keeping track for you. Now, just to rattle off a couple things that might interest you, I've got an herb sack, a little box to put all your seeds and such, and one of the best outfits. I call it the farmer's outfit. Oh, and I have a service too, where I can send folks out to take care of all your weeds. Woohoo! That one's my favorite. I sure do hate pulling weeds. It hurts my back. Come on down to the tithe farm and give it a try, and I'm sure you'll have some fun.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that commercial break because I know that I sure did. It is the time of the episode where we give a shout out to our lovely patrons. If you subscribe to the Wise Old Man tier or higher, that includes the KBD tier, you'll get a shout out, personal shout out every single episode. So we always start out with the Wise Old Man tier. Big thank you to 10,000 Slugs, Scape Caution, Elagio, Ballimer, Basket, Benjamin R, Bork Jerry, Hadad Bod, C. Gladney, Connor M, Morty, Cream Tam, Drum TXT, Duke Bradley, D. Falconer, Flying Castiel, Forestry, Fortimus, Francine 1225, Who Farted, Jack M, Jake W, Jerry, Potato Pancake, Posh Padre, Magmorpheus, Mima, Nasty MFer, 999999, Ninja Turtle Ruby, Not a Hippo, Obsidian Paladin, Okami Damashi, Pine Martin 709, Ice, Wallow, Russafuri, Salted Snake, Soggy Waffles, Skalaxin, Skoldveg, Solaire OS, Sweet and Tangy, The Chungaroo, THG Bang, T-Pace, Valdon, and Zach Without a K. Again, thank you to everyone in the Wise Old Man tier. Moving on to our KBD tier folks. Big thank you, and starting out with Bloodman, aka Young Kyle, Oxie's dad, also my dad, GIM Stones, Kroll, the Lord Jake himself, our third favorite Patreon supporter, Ralph, Rylithian, Skooma92, Spartan Fire, and Toast No Toast. If you guys want to support us on Patreon, you can do so by going to patreon.com/xpwaste. We said that we would have an update on what this new challenge will be, and we still have not figured that out. So just know we still have a challenge to hit 150 patrons. Not sure on the details just yet. But if you guys continue to support us, eventually we'll get to 150, and we appreciate that so much. Now it's time for the community question. Oxie, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Last week we asked you guys, did Raids 3 meet your expectations? So we got a couple replies over on Spotify. Starting out with Matt. They said, I love TOA. It's super inclusive to rookie PVMers or people without max gear. It's a great confidence booster to dive into more content. Absolutely agree. Charlie says, it exceeded my expectations. Fun, engaging, accessible via customizable difficulty. Feels like a great bridge for players to get from mid-game to the end game. Ooh. And that's in PVM, by the way. Dudeheim says, there's a third raid? Question mark. I'm still working on the account to do raids 1, but I love the artwork of the rooms and bosses from an outside view. Very nice. And then Young Max says, no, I wasn't expecting on sending it this week, but I was expecting a rollback day 1. And that hasn't happened to my knowledge, which it did not happen, which is great. So moving over to our YouTube replies, it's actually kind of funny. The only YouTube reply we got to the community question is from Young Mac. They said, updated comment from my Spotify comment. New raid is fun. Did one run, and golly, I had a good time. You absolutely love to see that. You absolutely love it. Young Mac, thank you.
Young Mac was the only one who came to the Achievement Diary Cape party that I didn't announce and didn't technically have. I just said that I'm done with the Achievement Diary Cape, and he was there at Twiggy O'Corn with his, the big Easter bulwark door, or whatever it was, kicking the shit out of a Black Knight. So shout out to you, Young Mac. Thanks for coming. I guess it wasn't a party, but thanks for coming anyways.
That is it for the community question. So thank you to everyone who did answer. If you'd like to answer this week's question, it will be, who is your favorite TOA boss? Answer down in the community question section on Spotify or the pinned comment on YouTube. I believe now, Oxie, it is your turn to take over.
Oh, you know it is, baby. It is Achievement of the Week. We have had an entire week since the last episode, or since the last recording anyways. It feels like it's going to be a lot longer because we released early for Tuesday, which, side note, also made me really happy when I sent the notification out that we're releasing 2 days early and people like lost their minds in the Discord. That was really satisfying as a content creator to see. So shout out to you guys.
Because you did say, I have bad news. There will not be an episode on Thursday. And then you hit them with, because it's coming on Tuesday.
Yeah, and that was really cool to see how excited people got for that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it is time for Achievement of the Week. You guys didn't hear it, but we had to take a little bit of a break there because my allergies are trying to kill me here on this fine Sunday evening. But kicking things off in the miscellaneous question mark category of Achievement of the Week, we're getting going with some quest capes here. So, Magmorpheus earned his first quest cape. Congratulations. Z-Walker76 with his first quest cape as well. And C. Burt with his first quest cape after 17 years. He says, finally, after 17 years, we got the quest cape. Better late than never, brother. And I lied. The last quest cape is actually Lucid719. Congratulations to you on your quest cape as well. That was like today, I think. I think
like
we finished the
2:00.
Kingdom Divided and got that today. So moving into some of the more miscellaneous goals. Hadadbod did Dragon Slayer 2, Monkey Madness 2, and Song of the Elves within like 2 days of one another. Having done that exact same grind, that's a lot of questing. Holy shit. Additionally, Caper68, which she does not sell infernal capes, by the way. For people outside of the clan, the term caper generally refers to someone who sells infernal capes. She does not sell them, but she did complete Dragon Slayer 2, so congratulations. And then Young Mac, again, at Achievement of the Week, coming in with 2K total with no 99s, which I just think is weird and impressive. So I want to see how far you can get. Can you get to 22, 50, whatever, without getting a 99? Probably not, because you just won't be able to do combat ever. But, you know, who knows? I literally think mathematically getting to 98 attack, strength, defense, magic, prayer would give you 99 hit points, period. Unless you do some like stupid, you know, I'm training strength at Blast Furnace because I'm not getting hit points experience.
Right.
Like, unless you do something stupid like that, you're probably just going to get it outright. But in any case, looking forward to that first 99. Speaking of 99s, we're going to move into the skilling category. Kicking things off, we have Mr. Myrtle? Not entirely sure how you pronounce that. But 99 agility. Also, 2 rings of endurance from Haslet Sepulcher from 92 to 99. That's gross. That's a lot of money. Congratulations. We have Doombar with 99 crafting. Some of these, like, you know, frequent flyers on the list here are flying through some of these 99s, though. Holy. Airdan with 99 magic on a fire surge at Lumbridge Cows. Congratulations. We have Riverwolf with his first ever 99 hit points. Call me biased, but the untrimmed hit points cape looks the best. That was also my first 99. We have Skalaxin with the double kill, 99 magic and 99 rune crafting in the exact same run, which is always pretty impressive as well. And I think that about rounds out the skilling category. So now we get into combat. As always, we have a set of first fire capes, which you guys know we love to shout out. RIP the YouTube people who I'm not looking at directly, but I'm looking over here for. Submediant got his first fire cape the other night. That was one I was in Discord for. He wouldn't stop making dad jokes and then got really quiet and then saw the notification that he got a fire cape. And we're like, oh my God, because I don't think we were paying attention to what he was doing. I think we were helping you do Corrupted Gauntlet, actually.
Oh, really?
And then he was just like, oh my God, I got it. And then the clan system notification popped up. So I love being in VC with people when they get their first cape. Speaking of first fire capes, of course, we have more, because that's like our thing in this clan. You know, for a host who can't get a cape out of the Tazar area to save his life, we do love first fire capes. Holy shit.
I can't wait for the end of the year survey like we did last year, where we just count up the amount of first fire capes in the year.
Yes, that's going to be so much fun, dude. King Roglo got his first fire cape as well. And then I want to say we cap off with GIM Kami, who got his today, otherwise known as Okami Damashi from the Patreon. Got his today as well. So congratulations to the first fire capers. I know we had a first Zulrah kill earlier in the CC, but for the life of me, I don't remember who got it. You know it's a first Zulrah kill because the Zulrah scales pop up as a collection log item for people. So it was just after I got my diary cape at like probably 6 o'clock on Sunday. So if you got your first Zulrah kill in the clan at about 6 o'clock on Sunday the 28th, let us know. But congratulations to you. And I want to say Skalaxin making a second appearance with his first ever Gauntlet KC. All of those of you who did Tombs of Amascut, congratulations. And I mean that from every sense of, like, you've never raided before, hard mid game, early late game, you barely have the trifecta. Dude, somebody, I think it was, I don't know who in the CC the other day, I think it was Baxley, said he had to sell his blowpipe to buy a lance for Vorkath. And he's like, nobody tell Oxie. And the CC was like, don't worry, Oxie's raiding. But I had just finished a raid when I saw that. I'm like, bad time to admit a sin like that in the CC, brother. And he's like, oh, shit. But he was able to buy his blowpipe back with loot from Vorkath.
Oh, hey,
so
there you go.
That's a decent trade-off.
Hell yeah.
Keep your damn trifectas.
It's called a rebuild, baby.
I don't know if I would call Lance. I mean, yeah, you can call it Lance at rebuild, but in any case, whether you completed it because it's your first raid ever, and you went in with a bunch of friends and you learned it for the first time, the voice chats in TNL were popping off.
They're
that
still
day.
popping off.
We took
to this
pictures.
day.
Yeah, no, people have not left VC. I have not seen an empty voice chat since 6 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. People have been going ballistic for TOA. If it's your first raid, congratulations. If you did a solo entry mode after never having soloed a raid, like I did, for example, congratulations to you. If you're out there cracking off 310 solo expert modes because you like the challenge and you're ready for whatever the raid has to throw at you and you're turning up the heat no matter what, congratulations to you. Like I said, Jesse, congratulations to you, because I'm pretty sure you're the only one in the clan who's done that so far. But regardless of what level you completed TOA, congratulations. It is a brand new raid, and seeing all of the completions in levels and achievements has been super cool, because this isn't something we would have been able to see. I think the first chambers took people like 6 hours because nobody knew how the puzzles worked and nobody knew how the boss fight worked. The first Theater of Blood took like half a day, and it was like game-wide phenomenon. Go watch the videos of the amount of spectators that are watching them do the final fight against Verzik, because you can spectate a fight.
Be on the
This
little
has
rafters.
been they're all up in the stands cheering for you. No, it has been so much fun to watch people get these completions. So if you're someone out there, not a very super skilled PVMer and this is your first one, congratulations. Or like I said, if you're a grandmaster, congratulations on, your first completion as well. And here's to many more, because holy shit, this is going to be the best content in the game. I don't want to quite say top who, but like I might never go back to Chambers again. Outside of combat achievements, I might never go back to Chambers again, man. Holy TOA is
I
fun.
beg to differ. I think at some point in your life, you'll get to where you're doing CM solos just to have like the dust and the recolors. So I think you'll go there someday.
Oh, don't worry, I'll be back, but I'm not gonna have fun.
Oh,
I'm gonna go for combat achievements. The only time I think I'll ever have fun in Chambers is if it is like we did with the Learner Night last weekend, where it's just like absolute tomfoolery. It's like someone makes it their job to try to fill the chest with vials of water. Like that, those are fun raids for me, where people don't take it seriously.
Somebody makes it their job to drop every single one.
Yeah, drop a tile, drop one on every single tile. Like that right there, those are when Chambers are fun. Any sort of like, hey, let's go raid to make money, I might never go back to Chambers of Zarek again, period.
Yeah.
I swear to God. Combat achievements and fun with the boys, which are the exact opposite ends of the spectrum for me, because holy shit, the Chambers CAs are going to be horrible for me. But
this could be a topic for an entire episode. But like, what is the implications of combat achievements when it comes to TOA? Are they going to remove helms from people?
They're taking help, just like quest capes. I'm not going to have my Jad Slayer helm when those come out. The combat achievements are going to be f***ing cracked.
Yeah.
They're going to be, we've been playing around with it. Jamie and I have been running a couple duos, and we've been speculating what some of the achievements are going to be. Ooh, I can't wait. But that wraps up Achievement of the Week for this week. Again, if you achieve something awesome, send it to our Discord, Levels and Achievements. Come join the TNL Discord. It is in the link in the Linktree description, or the Linktree link in the link. Lots of links. They're in the description down below. I don't know which order they're all in, but there's one there where you can join the Discord. It's okay,
it's
Michael. We recovered. We're flawless. You can join from there. Just come hang out with us. Like I said, look in the description. Don't listen to me. VC has been off the chain, so if you want to be social, don't want to be social, come share your achievements, come share your drops, come share your funny things that happen to you. Earlier today, for example, I posted in our funny channel that I met a guy on my group Ironman that is called TNL Jaddy. His group Ironman was Little Jaddy, or Lil Jaddy, or whatever it was, spelled exactly the same. And I did the chop special from our Dragon Axe, and he's like, wait a minute, what? And I'm like, huh? I'm like, there's no way we have the same name.
That's awesome.
And he's like looking up the group and things like that. So that's just, we have fun in Discord. Come hang out with us, because that's truly the most satisfying part of the podcast, is the community that we have built around it. And I think, achievements and community questions and patrons aside, it's finally time for what the people really care about.
Hell yeah.
The fun question.
The fun question. So this one actually comes to you straight from OG Scuba. And I just want to give a big shout out to OG. 4 postcards for you
God, that's
YouTube people.
So much content.
4 postcards. Actually, there's just one fun question, because all of them say, thanks for Xpwaste. Thanks for Xpwaste. Thanks for Xpwaste. And then on the last one, it has the fun question. But
hell yeah.
I don't fault anybody. If you send 4 postcards and you only put 1 fun question, 4 fun questions, that would be incredibly hard. He sent it in a whole envelope.
It is.
Like an entire envelope. So I had fun opening that up. But OG Scuba coming in with the fun question. I already read what they said. They said, thank you for Xpwaste. And you're welcome. You're very welcome. Well, actually, let's get into where these are from. So we got Buffalo Bill from Colorado, Lookout Mountain.
I wasn't looking at the screen. You said Buffalo Bill. I went, there's no way he sent a Silence of the Lambs postcard. Continue. I'm thinking of the wrong guy. Never mind.
We got the Red Rocks Theater, which is absolutely gorgeous. I believe also in Colorado. We have Golden, Colorado. It's a nice little aerial shot. And then rounding it out, good old Denver, Colorado. Nice shot of the cityscape. And there's Oxie's reflection. So, are you ready for this fun question, Oxie? Okay. So, he says, hey, Xpwaste. You're tasked with making a new city. Which IRL city do you take your inspiration from? Thank you, OG Scuba, for the fun question. I read this and I started to think about it, and I didn't put much thought into it. But there is so much potential for this question. So much potential. You are tasked with creating a new city for Old School Runescape, completely new area. You have to take inspiration from an IRL place. Where do you take inspiration from? The problem with what I have to say is I'm very much limited to like what I've seen in movies and what I've seen on the internet, because your boy hasn't traveled much. Like, I've been to a handful of states and I've not been outside of the country. So as far as actual cities, it's not happening for me, but I do have an answer. And if you want to go first, you can, or I can go first.
How about you go first?
Okay. So it's not going to be a very big city, but one thing that I think would be really cool is, you know how they have those resorts where they just build little huts in the middle of the water, and like you just walk on a bridge. Yeah. So I think an entire city out in the middle of the ocean, but on a raised little platform where you have like fishing spots and stuff, but most of the city is like these rope bridges or these underwater tunnels that you can see underwater. But you're walking around, and then, you know, there's, I don't know what you would put in the city, but it could just be more residential. But there could be a whole agility course where part of it is swimming and part of it is like underwater tunnels, and you have to jump on top of the houses, walk across rope bridges. But that's the concept, just out in the middle of the ocean. I don't know, how would you get there? I guess that's something I didn't even consider. If it's in the middle of the ocean, a boat, but if it's just offshore, I think that might actually be even better. If it's like, it's in the ocean, but it's just offshore, you can still kind of walk there from a bridge from the mainland. That would be pretty cool. The attractions you would see, fishing, probably fishing. If they added sailing though,
As far as getting there, you could always take inspiration off of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, the good old Pacific Log town. I did have to look it up because I forgot the name of the town, but you have to surf there on a Pokemon to get there because it's in the middle of the ocean. So you could do something like that where you have to like manually get there yourself. I don't know.
That's cool. Like you click on a spot and it like you see your character like swimming in the ocean, and you're maxed maxed melee gear and you're not sinking for some reason. You're wielding your scythe.
Torva is surprisingly buoyant.
Yep. So that's my city. What would it be named? That wasn't part of the question, but I think that's fun to think about. Okay, I'm going to think about a name and I'm going to let you go. What do you got? What do you got?
So, unlike Michael, I've done a shitload of traveling. I've seen a lot of cities, been to a lot of countries, been to quite a few states. You know, I like going places. I like traveling. If you hear the background noise, I apologize. My cat is attacking the window because she sees the bugs.
Oh, nice.
But interestingly enough, I don't think I'm going to base it off of any of those cities. I'm going to base it on a city in Michigan that I have spent a shitload of time in. I'm going to base it on East Lansing. So for those of you who have never been to East Lansing, if you have been, go green, by the way. If you've never been to East Lansing is a university surrounded by a city. So let's say you have a cube here that is the college, and then on all four sides of it are residential areas, restaurants, apartment buildings, supermarkets, things like that. East Lansing is more of like a very obtuse kind of shape like that. Or Michigan State is rather that kind of obtuse shape. So it's not like specifically a cube, but you get the idea. And I want to do that because I think this game as a medieval MMO, we need a college. We really need a college of something. Think of, Skyrim. You have the College of Winterhold. Think of any other medieval game you've played where there's like guild hubs that are more than just like, the woodcutting guild has trees in it, which like makes sense. It is the woodcutting guild. RuneScape is a rather simple game, but taking a lot of inspiration from the Elder Scrolls games, look at the Thieves Guild, where you can go in and buy and sell various items, and you can talk and get contracts to steal things. Look at the Dark Brotherhood, where you can go and get assassination contracts, things like that. There's a lot of like really cool. There's a big potential for guilds. The issue with a guild or the issue with a college in Old School RuneScape, what needs a college? What of the 23 skills need a college? There's two different routes you can take. The first is a Slayer college, quote unquote, where people are learning to PVM, and it's a good way to bring entry-level PVMers in, as well as high-level PVMers. I recently watched a Josh Strife Hayes video, and he talks about how MMORPGs struggle. RuneScape is an example of a game that struggles to invite new players in to do the content that people who play the game a lot love doing, right? If I told my neighbor or my friend or my roommate, or someone I match with on Hinge or Bumble, you should play Old School RuneScape. Theater of Blood is the most enjoyable group content I have had prior to Tombs of Amascut. That is a very different level of commitment. Like, it took me like 2.5 years to get to Theater of Blood, and then it took me another 6 months to get good enough at Theater of Blood where I wasn't tilting every time I stepped into Varys and Haza, because there's just hours of early game grind. So maybe the Slayer College is something like an introductory scalable raid where multiple people of multiple skill levels can go on, that isn't going to get like swept over. It's not going to be like Max Mage at Barrows like we said earlier, but it's not going to be Fazani's Nightmare out of the gate. Like, it's going to be a nice introduction that is fun and scalable for other people. I understand the resounding answer is just go to Tombs of Amascut, but maybe something else designed like Tombs of Amascut as far as accessibility with this Slayer College. The other example is add a new skill. Maybe add an artisan skill, maybe add the bard skill, maybe add something that would need this university setting where people from all over the continent can get together and share knowledge about one specific topic. I think having some sort of college here would be super cool. What would be around it? Because like I said, East Lansing is a college surrounded by a city, right? Maybe you have your skilling training hubs inside the city itself. Where let's say it's an artisan one. You know, maybe you have a furnace and an anvil, and maybe you have a spinning wheel or something like that. Or maybe an element of a new skill that we've not seen before. You know, maybe there's just things like that. Maybe there's like fun little dialogue. You turn in items, kind of like in Dorgishkan to get XP, things like that with the bones. And then outside is where you have, you know, your bank deposit box, your bank, your pull booth. Maybe you have a general store on the outside. Maybe you have some armorers or some like crafting shops or something like that. Maybe a rune store where like the merchant area is kind of on the perimeter and the interior is more skill centered. And what I frankly would like to see that I think is super cool that they've done with some places like Hasidius and Shazian is let's just see some more filler area. Let's just see some more residential. You know, let's see like what does a real city look like? It doesn't have to be maximum XP per hour functional. You know, I would also like a river to run through the city at the dead center, the city and the university, because that's also how East Lansing is laid out. There's the Red Cedar River runs through the middle. Let's have it just look cool. Let's make it look like a city. Maybe there is a massive living complex somewhere that doesn't offer anything besides NPCs to talk to. Let's give it some life. Let's have named NPCs. Let's go off of Burthorpe and Prifdinnis where like people have personality. You know, where you would stick it in the land, I'm not entirely sure. As far as the name of the city, I think Beale would be good. I know Beale City exists. I think it exists in Michigan, frankly. Beale, and for no other reason than B is my cat's name. And I can't think of another name for anything, and I don't know what else B would go with. You could just call it B. Who knows? Beington, three-colored Monsterville. I don't know, but I like Beale. I'm sticking with Beale. Beale College and Bealeville. I don't know. It's whatever. So yes, named after my cat, based around
Beautiful.
the university that I attended and loved very dearly. So yeah, that's a good question. That's fun.
Love
that's
it.
a lot of fun.
One thing I want to see more of that they don't do often, you know, this is a very small example, but like how you go to, so within Hosidius, you have the range and you have the one NPC that's going from the bank to the range. It's just doing the skilling thing. I would love to see more of that. Like you could have had it within Prifdinnis. Like you could have had NPCs that were taking things to an anvil, smithing them, and then walking back to another house. Like you could just have NPCs that are doing the mundane tasks that characters are doing, so that like you're not freaking like if you go in a 2200 world and you're in a remote place, like you're not the only person there. Because if you go to any 2200 total world, there's like maybe 70 or 80 people. Chances that you see another human being, very slim. So
and even you bring up a good example, like the guy who walks in and out of Varrock with the cart and the guards are like, oh yeah, have a good day, blah blah blah, and like you can have special interactions. If you kill all the guards, he'll be like, oh god, not again, they're all dead. Like there's special like little Easter egg interactions there, things like that make these cities feel alive and thriving. And that is, you know, something that MMORPGs and Old School RuneScape specifically have struggled with in the last couple of years, because while the content updates have been really good, like this place as a whole, as a fantasy realm, doesn't feel very real and doesn't feel very like I can't get engulfed in it, you know?
Right.
If that makes sense, which I think is a bit of an unfair criticism if taken out of context, because we have quests, we have bosses. There's a lot of like, you know, Tombs of Amascut. Again, if you complete the raid, the first time you do it, you'll talk to all 4 of the demi-bosses, and then you'll meet Amascut, and then you'll meet Osmumpton for the very first time, and you'll get exclusive dialogues in your first KC. Afterwards, you can talk to those demigods outside of the raid, and then ask them a bunch of questions, who they are, where they came from, what they're doing. And then you can say, well, what are we doing now? And they'll say, we have to prepare for whatever Amascut has next, and then they'll leave. And it's cool because like I am the lore whore that I am. I'm like, ooh, I want people to talk to. Turns out you get a 50k combat XP lamp for doing that. With just engaging with the world around you. Not skilling, not PVMing, engaging with the world around you, exploring, having conversations. Something that makes the fantasy RPG element of RuneScape really thrive in such a way.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason why when you play a game like Skyrim or The Witcher, you talk to everybody because they offer you a lot. There's no incentive to do that in RuneScape. And I think you're right. Adding like NPCs, just like doing shit around the town will add to that kind of feeling of immersion and just make it feel more alive, you know?
Like they did it in Sepulcher, and I think it's brilliant. You have different...
Those threw me off so much with the people talking.
Yeah. There's like, I just can't clear it. Like, it's fun and engaging, and they could do it with more places. Like, I'm in Ardoin right now. All you see are guards, and the people in the houses are just your standard, like, man and woman NPCs.
Dude, there must be martial law in Ardoin. I don't think I've ever seen a single citizen in that market ever. Ardoin is under constant martial law.
Yeah.
Like, nobody is out and about.
So it would be cool, like, if they even added special dialogue to merchants. Because I don't know, like, if you talk to this guy, talk to the fur trader, he's like, what can I do for you? And you're like, would you like to buy a fur? Yes. But what if you just got into, hey, where do you come from? Where do you get your fur? Like, just more things to do within the game. It would be Xpwaste, and that's why I think we like it. But I think more people would be engaged with this big old open server that we have, where maybe you're walking from Catherby over to Sears Village, and 3 or 4 times a day somebody walks there, and like you get special dialogue if you catch them. That would be really cool, because odds are 5,600 hours within this game, I'm probably going to see them a handful of times, and I can get to that, you know, that point in the dialogue, and maybe you learn something about RuneScape's history. Maybe they throw in facts.
I think
you know?
that's just got to be the key to the whole thing. It doesn't have to be like, you guys have to, all right, now on this step of the Osiris guide, you have to sit in between Varrock and Falador and wait for Jenny and her 2 dogs to walk by. Because if it's only 1 dog, you're not going to get the item you need, or you're not going to get the lamp you need. So you have to wait for her 2 dogs to come by. And in the meantime, while you're there, you should do all this stuff and fletch all these darts and make sure it's a maximum XP. Just make sure it's like, just something to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, here's another little tidbit from Raids 3 that I guarantee you maybe like 5 of you have done. Use the camulet on the banker. Just use the camulet on the bank camel. See what happens. Just do it. Right? Fun ways to engage with the world. But overall, this has been a fun question.
Yeah.
We had a fun episode. Yeah.
Appreciate
It's a very
it.
positive outlook, especially like I said, after the recording we did for the Wilderness podcast, where I was just like, yeah, this sucks. I feel like that was my entire like TLDR for that whole episode. But go check that episode out as well. It is episode 220 of the Wilderness podcast. 220 or 221. I listened to it today for the life of me. Don't remember what the number was, but go check it out. It is super cool. Yeah.
220.
220. Yeah, definitely worth a listen.
Yeah.
You know.
Shout out to Dills, who texted us the night before. It was like, hey, what are you doing tomorrow morning? Like, doing a podcast with you. So you may see us more on the Wilderness podcast, as he just needs random hosts to fill in, but that was fun. Thank you, Dills.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Like Oxie said, it's a good time to wrap this episode up. Thank you so much if you got to this point in the episode. We appreciate you so much. You know what's coming. It's all the stuff we ask you to do. So subscribe on YouTube, drop a comment, leave whatever like you can like. If it helps us out, it helps us out, you know? Find everything you need in the description. If you're looking for all of the rest of the audio links, if you want to hear if you just want to hear our voice rather than see us, or vice versa, we have the YouTube link in the description as well. Find that there. Follow Oxie and I on Twitch. He has been streaming quite a bit more than he
twice
did
in a week. That's
Twice
like
in a week.
2 times more than I have for the entire year. Holy.
And streamed for 9 hours on one of those days, which is absolutely insane. I didn't.
That's only a content release day thing. That's not a regular thing. Don't get used to me. Don't get used to me doing that. But
Anyway, follow us on Twitch. Buy our merch, xpwaste.shop. Join our Patreon, patreon.com/xpwaste. Actually, I think that is it. I'm going to send these folks off. Guys, we will see you guys next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.